Welcome everyone to yet another interesting and exciting ICT class. I want to specially welcome everyone because this class promises to be interesting. This is an unplugged activity class. That means we will not be using the code studio in this class because it's an unplugged activity class. In our previous lesson, we looked at conditionals with the farmer, where we talked about the conditional block. And we said that the conditional blocks are those blocks that helps to give a computer a command. And if these commands are true, the programs are run. But when they see as false, it means that there's a bug. And what do the computer do? It ignores those bugs. We also see that conditional blocks helps to give an options to our program. We looked at the if-else statement as an example of a conditional statement. It means if there's a pile, jump over it, else pick piles. So you see, we also looked at the repeat until block, and we said that these blocks helps to loop, to repeat an action continuously until all the goals are achieved. And we looked at the while loop block. While there is a lettuce, pick or collect lettuce. In this class, we are going to be looking at the introduction to SPRITE. The introduction to SPRITE. Now, when I say SPRITE, many of us would think that it is that drink that we take that is produced by Coca-Cola. No, it is not. In this class, we'll look at the meaning of SPRITE. We'll look at some examples of SPRITE used in our code studio and how we can create a sprite. Looking at this picture, you can see an example of a sprite already. So let's move on. Now, what is a sprite? A sprite is a graphical character that we can control in the code studio. Any graphical character or images or even objects that we can control inside the code studio is seen as a sprite. Now, when we say control, what do we mean? We can program them to do whatsoever we want them to do. We can tell them to destroy a pod. We can tell them to move forward. We can tell them to turn right or turn left. Just as we program them, that is what they will do. Now, like I said, sprites are controlled by us. They are being manipulated by us, which is the programmers. Or we can say that a sprite is seen as an image or an object in the code studio that we can manipulate. Yes, just like I have said, the sprite can be manipulated by us, by myself and by yourself, because we are seen as programmers. Now, they are given instructions, and these instructions must be followed strictly. Now, sprites can also do conditional statements, but this statement must be given to it to do by programmers, which is ourselves. Reasons why we use sprites. Sprites are controlled by a programmer. You remember I said it. We are the ones that controls these sprites. We have so many thousands of sprites, and all these are given to us to control and manipulate. They get instructions done. No matter how difficult the instruction is, sprites get it done. As soon as we click on run, the instructions are being carried out. They manipulate code written by us. Yes, like I have said, they can help to do any code that is being written by us. We can manipulate them, and as we do them, they do whatsoever we want them to do. We have some examples of sprites. And I believe that from our plugged activities so far, we have done so many sprites, or we have looked at so many sprites. I guess we can still remember some of them. One of them is the angry bird, which we know even when we were in primary theory, we did it. Mrs. Bell told us about the angry bird. We looked at zombie. It's also an example of sprites. The angry pig. Yes, I know many of us know this one very well because we used it in our last two blocks, which is Steve and Alex. Many of us chose Steve, and some people also decided to choose Alex. We also looked at the farmer, which was our last topic, where we saw a farmer harvesting Now that is also an example of sprite. Now, let's see. We have been talking about sprites. How do we create these sprites? Sprites can be created in the Code Studio using a very simple and easy block. And that block is called the Make a New Sprite block. The Make a New Sprite block is a block that is used to create simple sprites. And in the Make a New Sprite block, we have the sprite name, the sprite costume, and its location. Now looking at the picture, it always have a red color. We can see the Make a New Sprite block. Here where they wrote my sprite is seen as the sprite name. The costume is a picture that is used to depict the sprites that we are making. While its location is a yellow colored block that is at the side of the Make a New Sprite block. Now, whatsoever place we want to place the location in our play area, we can write the location here, which is the code. We can write it here, and the sprite will create or make itself in the location we want it to be placed. So the Make a New Sprite block consists of the sprite name, the sprite location, and the costume. Yes. Now the sprite does not work on its own. Even when we are finished creating them, we need something called a behavior block. A behavior block are blocks that helps to give instruction to a sprite. It is with the behavior block that the sprite can function. It's just like you bought a new car, and if you do not put on the car will just stay there and be looking at you. It's only when you put on the engine of the car and move the car, that is when the car moves. Or you bought a phone, an Android phone. If you do not put on your phone, you will not be able to work. It's only when the phone is on, that is when you can operate it. Yes. So even after we have created our sprite, the sprite can just be dormant there because we have not given it an instruction. The instructions that are given to the sprites can also be seen using the behavior block. So that is why we say sprites work only with instructions from the behavior block. Now, looking at the behavior block, we will think that there are so many difficult blocks, but the behavior block are the blocks that we normally use before, like the move forward is a behavior block. The turn left is a behavior block. The destroy is a behavior block. Even when we did conditionals with the farmer, get nectar is a behavior block. Pick lettuce is a behavior block. Even swimming left and right, they are all behavior blocks. So, can you mention one behavior block? Yes, I know you know it. All these are behavior blocks. The jump forward is a behavior block. Now, this is how we end today's interesting class. I believe that from these words we have said, you can be able to identify behavior blocks. And in our next class, which is Simon Says, we will also look at an unplugged activity on how we can use the sprites to create Simon. See you in our next class. Bye.